everyone. This is a special call meeting of the Board of Trustees. That is meeting. Today is August the 12th, 2021. We are present. Some are present virtually. Some are present at the boardroom on 201 Lincoln Wood, Laredo, Texas. We have quite a bit today. Some board members are proceeding virtually due to the special call meeting. I have those who are present in person. For the record, state your names. Beginning with Mr. Molina.
Frank Castillo, present.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez, present.
Ricardo Molina Sr.
Mr. Those virtually present, would you please announce yourselves?
Alisa Oliveros.
Javier Novelis III. Javier Montemayor, present. Is Mr. Ramirez present today or not present?
He's not present today.
He's not present.
Okay. Well, we have a forum, and hereby call this meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance and defense of the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. Hereby calling to order. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. You have the form present. Item number 4, public comments. This is Dawn. How does public comments look?
Yes, sir. We have a number of public comments, individuals who have already signed up, who are here present.
We get a few.
Yes, sir. So we were going to look at those who were speaking with regards to against the mask mandates. So I have Ms. Erica Herrera Dunn. Please step forward.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Erica Herrera Dunn. I am a mother of children that attend the district. I have nieces and nephews, of course, that as well. Since when does a school board entity, public and local, supersede our right of choice as what we have here that you're trying to mandate? Can anybody answer that, please?
Yeah.
Since when?
Legal, Brenda?
Per
Okay.
board policy, the board is not to respond to public comment. Only factual recitations of board policy may be given.
That's fine. Okay, perfect. So within that, I am here for also many parents that have been ridiculed, bullied, that within their own colleagues that are afraid to speak out because of the fact that they are exercising their rights. Now, we're not to you to ban them. You want to wear them? Fine, so be that. But for us as a choice that our children should have to be mandated to wear them, that's against our rights, and that's what we're against. That's what we are trying to voice of these many parents that are very passionate about this. Many of them wanted to speak, but could not because they fear that within their colleagues, as many of them are educators, health professionals within the local community, they fear the backlash they're getting. Is that something that we should be feeling as parents by our local community? We should not be. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for actually trying to impose that and maybe even giving your employees virtual or anything that you have to do to make them not have the other person that does not fear or does not feel that their choice should be heard. This is tyrannical, and this is against our law and the state law. That flag that you just pledged to, that's the one that it's against. I yield back, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Ms. Michelle Winteroth.
Michelle Wentworth.
Ms. Monroe, good evening, ma'am. You have 2 minutes, ma'am.
2 minutes?
I think they're looking for some, she signed up here, and I think they're trying to find her before.
Yes,
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
2 minutes?
Good evening, Ms. Monroe. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yeah, yeah.
can.
Okay. You have 2 minutes, Ms. Monroe. Thank you
You're
for
ready?
your.
Whenever you're ready, tell me so I can start.
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I sent each and every one of you an email for the exception of Mr. Juan Ramirez because it didn't go through or something, technology. But it basically says that I'm here to speak to you against mandatory masks.
Get close to the one. Okay.
I'm here to speak to you against mandatory masks for our children. Even though my child and myself opt to wear one, it doesn't mean every child should. I believe this to be everybody's individual right. It's important for you to know that I'm not against masks or vaccines or any of that. I just believe, again, that parents should have the right to do what is best for their children. My question to you guys is, why are we allowing our rights to be violated by these draconian mask mandates or ordinances? Why are you guys doing this? Wouldn't it be better for you to fight for something like maybe opt for online learning versus your mask mandates? I mean, you're still going against the governor either way.
Wait a minute.
So anyway, you guys are here to do a job that we pay you to do. You guys work for us, not the other way around. And we expect you to do what's right for everyone, not just for a select few, for everyone. And again, I see a lot of room in here for more people to be in here and speak. What you guys are doing to those people out there is illegal because there is no mandate that says that they can't be in here. There is no COVID mandate. So what all of you sitting up there are doing is illegal. You're not supposed to be doing it.
Just to clarify for the record, for the board members and people in attendance, there is a YouTube link for the meeting to be viewed live. Reasons of safety, health and safety, the in-person attendance in this room has been restricted, but
By
everyone will
whose
be allowed to
order?
speak.
Whose order? Where did you get this from? Just,
I really can't respond.
oh,
Mr.
exactly. You
Yes,
can't
go
respond.
ahead.
You can't respond because you
2
don't
minutes,
know.
you're up. Thank you.
Can we let Ms. Monroe finish? Right. Go ahead, Ms. Monroe. Apologize for the interruption.
Thank you so much, sir. So anyway, what you guys are doing is wrong. There's people out there that need to be in here listening to what I'm saying, to what you're saying, and he's saying. And you're holding them out there when they shouldn't be. They should be in here listening. I see seats next to Ms. Bruni, between Mr. Gardner. Why aren't they in here?
Yes.
Why aren't they in here? I don't want to see pointing of fingers because this is all I see from our district. The people, we pay you guys to do a job. And what you guys are doing is you're just picking and choosing, like picking at straws. Don't nod your head at me, sir, because you're being disrespectful.
I don't agree with you.
You don't have to agree. I'm telling you what it is. Because if you get up, you can see those people standing out there and they shouldn't be. They should be in here listening to what I'm saying so that they can have a voice as well. And you're silencing that voice. And that is their First Amendment right. You're silencing it.
Thank you, Ms. Monroe. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, just to reiterate, this is Jaime Garcia, legal counsel. The board can place reasonable manner restrictions on the in-person attendance here due to the health and safety. There is a YouTube link for the public to view this meeting live, and all members who are here that wish to speak will be able to speak.
Next speaker,
And can I just add for the record that we don't get paid? Nobody pays me to be a board member. It's totally voluntary, for free.
Actual, we can clarify that. We can serve free.
You're just reading the line.
I have Ms. Sandra Witten,
Go ahead.
the next speaker.
I just want to ask
And they
a
call you?
question. Will we all be able to go over our 2 minutes as that young lady was?
If need be, Ms. Bruni, if you need more time, I will allow time as I see fit. But we need to move, we have a lot of public comments, we need to move. But we're gonna get through everybody, and I'll give everybody equal opportunity.
I'm sorry, 2 or 3. Oh, it said 3 on the paper.
Hello, my name is Sandra Witten. I am a mom.
Good afternoon. You have 2 minutes now.
Okay, the paper said 3, so thank you for clarifying that.
Go ahead.
My name is Sandra Witten. I have 2 children in UISD, an 11th grader at United High School, an 8th grader at Washington Middle School. As you all know, the governor has put out a G38A executive order stating that you may not limit the number of people in a room, you may not mandate people to wear a mask or to get the vaccine. The governor's office has been very clear about this. Now, although I might be the token Republican in the room, I am no fan of the governor's. Yet, this is something about our children. I have held the hand of mothers who have told me and shown me the pictures of their children who have got scars and have bruises and cuts on their faces from having to wear masks all day. I've been a preschool teacher. I've been inside of classrooms. Tell me, teachers, how many of you can keep a classroom of 2nd graders without picking their nose? You can't. How are you going to enforce them wearing masks properly when we see pictures of adults not wearing them properly all day long? This is not about spreading a disease or not. This is about the freedom to choose, and you're taking parents' rights away. My son is supposed to be in physics classes and calculus classes coming this next week. That's not something that I can properly homeschool him over. But I'm willing to take that risk with my child's future because you are robbing him the ability to be able to be in a class freely. All over the state of Texas, we have not been having these problems, yet here in these Democrat-controlled cities, we are trying to play God. How about we talk about how these diseases are preventable without tying a mask around a child's face? Let's talk about how they are treatable when we use medications that are outside of the box thinking. I personally know multiple frontline doctors who are willing to come to Laredo and help us with this pandemic, but our city council refuses to listen to them. Our doctors are refusing to listen to anything that doesn't come from Fauci's mouth. It's being shown all over the country and all over the world that the masks are not preventing the spread. If they were, they'd be working and we would not be 18 months into this pandemic. Stop torturing our children. Think of them. Think of a kindergartner who's walking into a classroom for the very first time only to see a set of eyeballs instead of seeing a teacher's loving face. Think about the nightmares that they're going to have.
2 minutes, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Anybody else? I don't know if there's anybody in the public, sir, that was going to comment. From what I understand, I think there was Miss Alexandra.
Not against. These are the
Colicides?
I'm speaking in favor of.
Yes,
If you
but-
want to do the against first, I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So Miss Alexandra Colicides, I believe she was online?
No, I'm right here.
Oh, then I got you the wrong one. I'm sorry, ma'am. Erica Herrera, she was coming in. I'm not sure if she's virtual.
She spoke first, I think. She already spoke.
And then I do have the ones to read.
So who's next to speak?
I have all the against her comments that were submitted to us. Do you want me to read those first, or you want the?
Yes, go ahead and read those.
So these are the individuals who were against her. Some statements are short. This is from Ms. Ina Kalmakova. I'm so frustrated about this new mandate that school's trying to implement again for our children. My daughter, 8 years old, social, loving school child with a great performance. Last school year, I was taking her off from learning in person for health reasons. She developed headaches after having a mask on in a few hours, especially when they had PE. She was lethargic and would not eat until headache was gone at home. Please, whoever's in charge to decide, think about your own child. If you want to have a mask, you can put 3 on your face and get vaccinated. Don't force my child. The next individual is Ms. Sandra Witten. I believe she already spoke. The next individual is Nicole Arias. I'm a concerned parent in United ISD. I have 3 children in the district. I hear there's a possibility of the city trying to mandate masks for the children in United ISD. I ask that you please not allow this, as it is against the governor's orders, and it is not for the city to change that. This should also be a choice for each family to make for their children. Although I believe there is no need for masks and they are actually more harmful than helpful, I am not against allowing other parents to make that choice for their children, but this medical choice should be a choice. The next individual is Telma Paola Alcazar. Please allow the parents and taxpayers to decide if our children wear a mask or not to school. Masks have not been scientifically proven to prevent illness. Governor Abbott has not mandated the use of masks. Ms. Rendon, please consider the emotional and psychological being of our students. They state my name, sir, because for the record, I was the one receiving the public comments at grendon@uisd.net. Okay. Jennifer Norris, I'm writing to you in hopes that you will stop the madness with the masks. Last time I checked, this was still a free country, which gives every American the right to choose. Masks being optional is the most constitutional thing that can be done. If a family feels that masks are the best option for them and their children, that's great. But that is not right for every family. My child, for one, has already been sick from wearing a mask, and it is not right for another to make this decision for what is right for my child. Again, I hope you seriously take into consideration the well-being of every child. The next public comment is from Lisa Beckton, concerned taxpayer and former Texas public school teacher. I'm writing to express my frustration with the absurd mask mandate you are trying to impose on the children of our community. This is being suggested out of ignorance when one considers the fact that children have proven not to be large-scale vectors of the transmission of the virus, as well as the fact that they aren't any great risk of death from the virus. Out of roughly 75 million kids in our country, less than 350 have died of or with COVID. For perspective, that is 0.000467%. This is far from the plague it's made out to be as far as they're concerned. Allow families to make the choice for their children. It isn't healthy or developmentally appropriate for their faces to be covered all day, and parents have the right to reject that their healthy child be treated as if they are infected with a virus day in and day out. If adults in the building are worried, they have every right to mask up and have had every opportunity to get a vaccine, if they so choose. Stop being fearful yourselves and stand up for what's right for the children in this community. Normalcy. Look to other school districts who aren't cowering in terror and follow suit. Thank you for your time. Lisa Beckton. The next individual is Elsa Moreno. I'm writing with frustrated and about this new mandate the school is trying to implement again for our children. My daughters are 8 and 5, 5-year-old with special needs. They are both very loving school with a great performance. Last school year I was taking them out from learning in person for health reasons. They developed headaches after having a mask. I think I already read this one. In a few hours, especially when they had PE. She was lethargic and would not eat until headache was gone at home. Please understand the physical and emotional trauma it is for children to be their mask for so long. To whoever is in charge, please take into consideration that these are children and they can't decide for themselves. That's why as parents, we are urging you to make a decision to not mandate our children to this outrageous situation. This is from Pastor Jorge Tovar. Dear UISD Board, please respect our constitutional right to choose. I protest the mask mandate and ask you all to abide by Governor's Executive Order G-838, July 29, 2021, which prohibits mask mandates, and they attached a copy of the order. I don't have to read that, right? Thank you. This is from Myra Lozano. Buenas tardes, ya no estoy de acuerdo que los niños tengan que usar cubrebocas en las escuelas, sobre todo los pequeños en elementary, porque no saben usarla correctamente. Ya, le dejarían toda sea, contaminarán más y no es sano para nadie usarla tantas horas. Ojalá no la vuelvan a obligar. Gracias, la señora Lozano. Christy Gonzalez, I'm against face mask mandate. This should be up to the parents. Respectfully, Christy Gonzalez. Good afternoon. Thank you for keeping our community informed. This message is to express our household is against this mask mandate. This is from Yara Morris. The next individual is Steve Paulsen. Personally, I have issues with masks. I don't breathe well, and as an older active teacher, it causes me much anxiety when I can't breathe. The data also sadly shows no difference between areas with masks, without them, and choice allowed. I understand that it calms some people to be in a mask, but I don't want to wear one simply to calm others. My medical issues are mine, and I prefer to make informed decisions based on actual data, not just security blankets. If you can show actual scientific evidence that masks, not N95, actually make a difference here, I'd listen. I research a lot from multiple sources and look carefully at the actual data to make informed decisions for my body and my family. One of the reasons I returned to teach this year was the fact that I could not wear a mask while teaching. If that changes, I will have to do some hard decision making. Another related issue, vaccines versus immunity derived from actually surviving COVID. All the studies are showing, unsurprisingly, that the immune response from the actual disease confers a more robust immunity than a vaccination, yet no policy acknowledges this fact. If you had it, you don't need to be vaccinated. If you had chickenpox, you don't get the vaccine for it. Same with all other diseases. The point of a vaccine is to stimulate the immune response your body develops by surviving the disease. Actually, surviving it is a stronger response. It would be nice if the district acknowledges. Sincerely, Steve Paulsen. Next one is Darren Matthews. My name is Darren Matthews, and 3 of my daughters have graduated from the UIZ school system. I have my youngest starting high school at Alexander High School, 9th grade campus on Monday. I have complied with all the online curriculum this past year and a half due to COVID-19. It has been very difficult for my youngest daughter because she has had a very difficult time staying motivated and paying attention. I had her tested for ADHD and other learning disorders with the help of Troutman Middle School. The principal and his staff were as helpful and supportive as they could be under the circumstances. However, she still struggled. When it was announced that UIZ was going back in the classroom learning, she and I were both elated. My children and I have all been vaccinated, and I fully respect other decisions in the area of their personal health. I say this to all simplify, exert my desire for masks to be optional and not mandatory. The research and science are very confusing, and no answer can be deemed exact. With this in mind, I reiterate my vote not to mandate masks, because after the struggles that my daughter and I have strived to overcome this last year and a half, we want to eliminate any and all obstacles and distractions moving forward to ensure the highest level of education that she can achieve with the UIZ school system. Respectfully, Darren Matthews. I am against mask mandates. Follow the law, and allow parents to make the decision for their own kids. Alexander Soler. We vote no for mask. Lilian Hernandez. And that's it for against.
Those are the, okay. Let me move. Anybody else in person there that wants to speak against the mandate?
Against the mandate. Let me answer.
Anybody online or present virtually that wants to speak against the mandate?
We have some.
Can you fix the microphone? Can you hear it?
No, sir, it's not this.
Okay, then I'm gonna move on to those in favor that are present in the boardroom. If they could, reach the podium, they have 2 minutes to.
Okay, Miss. The first speaker is Alexandra Solis.
Good evening, my name is Alexandra Colositas Solis. To those people who submitted their comments against a mask mandate and are watching via the comfort of their own home and the safety of their own home on Zoom, your hypocrisy speaks volumes. It's very easy to be brave behind a computer screen. But thank you for not coming since you don't want to mask up. Thank you for protecting us. To the board members, good evening. Each of you sits here because we chose you to do what is in the best interest of our children, all of our children. Society can and should be judged by how we care for and protect the most vulnerable among us. I am here to ask you to challenge the governor. I am here to ask you to represent our most vulnerable children, our local students with underlying health issues that need and deserve by law, under the ADA, a mask mandate, which is a reasonable method of protection, so that they too can enjoy school with a modicum of protection, a minimal amount of protection, so that they can see their peers and learn in the classroom, just like all the other ones. I am here to ask you to protect our teachers, our janitors, our school librarians, our administrators, our janitors, our support staff who are in, day out, and will be for months. Governor Abbott's logic is that each student can exercise good judgment and personal responsibility. Completely flawed. It ignores decades of neuroscience, child development, psychology, and our own personal anecdotal histories where we've all made really bad choices as kids, and there, but for the grace of God, we sit here today. Children lack impulse control. Their brain is not fully developed. We have a completely separate legal system to deal with juvenile justice because the law knows kids do not make good choices. Kids frequently make very bad decisions, and personal responsibility is something you learn with time. We also do not allow children to vote for the exact same reason. Their brains are not developed. They do not make good choices. And ladies and gentlemen, our city, our community is at a breaking point. If you talk to our EMT and our firefighters, they will tell you ambulances are waiting in the hospital parking lots. So God help anyone that has a devastating car accident, a heart attack, or a stroke, because they may find themselves in the back of the ambulance in a parking lot. And school hasn't even begun yet to become an additional vector for spread of this infection. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a political statement. This is proof that you are a common sense loving, caring, God-fearing, decent human who cares for others and loves others as we love ourselves. I thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sylvia Bruni, please.
Good evening, school board and superintendent. I had intended a 3-minute presentation, so I'm going to have to rush. Let's count my 2 minutes now. I come representing the Webb County Democratic Party as a chair, but I will tell you, for those of you who do not know, that I'm still part of your family. I was the very first senior English teacher of United High School many years ago, and I will tell you that those 17 years in the classroom formed much of who I am today. You and I both know that there are three tools that will mitigate this horrendous pandemic: the mask, social distancing, and the vaccine, none of which will be absolutely automatically guaranteed for our children. So on behalf of the 43,000 children, my grandchildren included, I have 4 in your schools going in on Monday. On behalf of all of them, I want you to consider the realities that Laredo is facing right now. Right now. Our hospitals are in continuous diversion. Right now, there are 31 patients in emergency rooms and or being moved to outlying emergency centers because our hospitals have no more room. We are a medically underserved community, desperately short of medical professionals, and our governor continues to refuse. His latest recommendation is that we begin to postpone elective surgery. That's his answer to the fact that we are desperately short. We have seen a dramatic increase in pediatric cases. As of yesterday, 8 of our children have been moved to out-of-town pediatric ICUs because Laredo has no pediatric ICUs. None. Right now, we have, from what I understand, there are 0 ICUs for adults available in the city. We're 10 days into 0 ICUs. From 1 week to the other, we went from 46 cases of infection to 94. That's the present, and I can guarantee you the numbers will rise. 10 days without an ICU, absolutely no resources to take care of the migrant children, no resources. An increase in our local schools. The last we heard last night was that 2 children from the non-public schools that had enrolled recently, 2 children have already been infected. We are considered right now the 5th highest in Texas with a hospitalization rate of 22%, way, way over what should have been normal. Our hospitals, a couple of days ago, we learned the Doctors Hospital was completely out of what they call remdesivir. That's the medication used for our COVID patients. In spite of everything we know from the CDC, from the Academy of Pediatric, from the CDC, the World Health Association, from everything we know, we're doing the exact opposite. No mandates, and so what? And there's another point that I think all of us need to understand. The CDC pandemic data tells us that Hispanic children are 8 times more likely to be infected than a child that is not Hispanic. We're a predominantly Hispanic community. And so I would plead with you, as a member of the family, I still consider myself a united person. I know it's a difficult dilemma, but you and I know that we were pledged to assure that children were safe when they came into our schools. And I plead with you to be courageous and to follow the same lead that many of our other school districts are following. Stand up to the mandate and do everything you can to protect our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Gloria Jackson, sir, is present.
Jackson.
Thank you so much. I know that my Madam Chair ran a little ahead, so I'm just gonna take a few minutes, less than a minute. I just wanna thank you all, first of all, for being here. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for having a passion for teaching our children, my grandchildren who I now have, and I just ask and let you know that I'm always praying for you all, for all our teachers, our substitute teachers, our bus drivers, our janitors, our security. I just thank you and I ask you to do the right thing, to continue doing the best that you can to protect our children, and continue. And I know that you're always all in my prayers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Genesis Britz.
Good afternoon, UISD Board, public. My name is Genesis Britz. I am 16 years old, the youngest person here I can see. I'm an incoming junior at United South High School. I also happen to be head chair of the Laredo City Youth Council. I'm here to speak not only as a student, but as a human who has seen the parents of her friends die due to COVID and has heard doctors and nurses begging for us to wear masks. The masks that people who were just in this room, for the lack of better words, are throwing tantrums over not wearing. There are over 3 million cases in Texas and a little over 50,000 cases in Laredo, but only 866 deaths. Well, how much more will we allow? How much more will you allow as a UIC board? According to Harvard Medical School, 13 additional variants of COVID are being tracked that originated in the US as well as different countries, one of the most dangerous being the Delta variant. It is twice as more infectious as the original COVID and twice as more infectious than chickenpox. Nadia Rohn, PhD associate professor at US San Francisco, claims it is replicating more, faster, and will spread more efficiently. As the UISD board, it is your job to protect your students and your employees, me and my father who works for you. And you're here at this meeting in your position because I know and we know you care about your students and about your employees. Masks make people sick. At least those are not the words of Dr. Sheenan Lalnali, a board-certified internal medicine physician. Our hospitals are filling up, our people are dying, nuestra gente se está muriendo, and they will continue to die and get sick unless we mandate that everybody wears a mask. Getting vaccinated, wearing a mask, and social distancing are the 3 things that the CDC claims can save lives. Not everyone is old enough for a vaccine, and our schools aren't big enough to social distance thousands of students, but everyone is able to wear a mask. Nobody wants to be stuck behind a computer screen. That comes from someone who was stuck behind a computer screen for an entire year. It is hard for our small children to learn. It is declining them of their capacity to socialize, and that's exactly what happened this past year. So I don't see why people here are debating whether we or we should not wear a mask when we clearly know science has proven that it saves our lives. It is your job to provide your students education, but most importantly, it is your job to prioritize our safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
María Caballero.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Caballero y estoy aquí porque tengo preocupación. Ya el regreso a clases ya está aquí, ya el lunes, y no quiero mandar a mis hijos. El motivo es porque no quiero para nada experimentar con mis hijos. Ya hay niños que están experimentando las vacunas para los niños. Y ahorita yo no quiero experimentar con mis niños, ni siquiera quiero experimentar si mi vacuna que yo me puse sirve o no sirve. Quiero protegerme en todo momento. Y quiero proteger a mis hijos, a mi familia. En mi casa solamente hay una niña de 8 años que no tiene vacuna, pero tiene un nivel bajo de autismo. Pero no quiero mandarla, aunque le haga mal estar encerrada, ¿verdad? Prefiero que le haga mal eso, que tenga consecuencias a eso, a que vaya a parar al hospital y sea muy grave su enfermedad que le va a dar allá. Estoy en desacuerdo totalmente de que los niños regresen a clases. Claro que nos vemos en la necesidad de que los papás ya queremos que regresen los niños. Yo, ¿qué más quisiera? Yo quisiera que mis niños regresaran a clase, pero creo que no es el momento de que todos los niños, toda la escuela regrese a clases. Y yo quiero que, por favor, que vea el superintendente, que dé la oportunidad de que los niños tomen clases virtuales. Yo sé que es muy difícil, porque no es orden de ustedes, es orden más arriba. Pero use todos los recursos, use todo, tiene ya los fondos, que es para todo el año, use parte de los fondos para que nos den chance de que los niños pequeños agarren la vacuna. Yo se lo pido y le digo porque todos los maestros, así como los papás, tenemos el derecho de proteger a nuestros hijos. Ustedes como maestros tienen derecho a proteger a los niños en la escuela. Y esto no está bien ahorita, tener todos los niños en un salón de clases, ahí, la clase completa. Y a la hora de la cafetería tampoco. Por favor, yo le pido que use recursos, que mueva, que haga algo, porque ya muchos padres estamos de desacuerdo. Unos queremos ir a clases, unos niños quieren ir a clases, ¿verdad? Los papás sin cubrebocas y otros no. Ustedes cómo van a pelear eso, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo van a llegar a un acuerdo con eso? El único acuerdo es que, por favor, clases en línea, por favor, use recursos. Ya después, por favor, yo sé que el presidente le va a mandar más recursos, pero sea un héroe en su escuela, en su distrito, por favor, señor superintendente, por favor. Mande. Sí, ok, gracias. Discúlpame.
Gracias, señora Caballero.
La señora Mireya Filio. Fili.
Tienen 2 minutos, me puedo ver.
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mireya Filio y estoy principalmente aquí en total desacuerdo, inconformidad en lo que están mandando ahora a la escuela. Les voy a dar mis razones rápidas. Tengo una familia, tengo una bebé en casa, tengo un niño especial, tengo un esposo que se ha cuidado súper bastante, nos lo hemos tomado muy en serio. Tengo casi 2 años llevamos para en mi casa cuidándonos extremadamente, porque estoy haciendo lo más importante, que es mi trabajo como padre, es cuidar la salud de los niños. No importa que tenga que lidiar con alguna alergia por la máscara, una alergia se cura, una cremita y algo, y el trauma que dicen algunos padres que suelen pasar los niños en casa, si les dedicamos tiempo y atención, no tienen por qué pasar por esas cosas. Ahora, como decía la otra señora, hay muchos padres que no quieren mandar quieren llevar a sus hijos a la escuela. Ok, adelante, ustedes no necesitan tantos niños en clase, hagan lo que hicieron el año pasado. Todos esos padres que quieren mandarlos adelante, experimenten con esos niños. Con los míos no. Respeten mi trabajo como padre, que es cuidar su salud. Hemos hecho todo para que echen a la basura. Todo este tiempo que nosotros nos hemos cuidado mucho en casa, no lo pisoteen. Respeten el cuidado que hemos tenido en mi familia. Es mi opinión, estoy en total desacuerdo. Hagan algo, los que pueden hacer algo, háganlo, no es justo. no es justo. Yo no critico a esos padres, pero ayuden a ellos y ayúdenos a nosotros. Por favor, se los pedimos. Gracias.
Thank you.
Dr. Ricardo Cigarroa.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time and for your service. I'm sure it's been an incredibly difficult year and a half for all of you, as it has been for us. I would just like to make a few comments, and I will reserve them really for the issue of face masks in schools. I'd like us to follow reason, to follow science, but much more important, common sense. The one silver lining we've had in COVID-19 is the sense that it doesn't affect children so much, the age group 0 to 17. I think what we have seen in the last month in Laredo is that the Delta variant acts a bit different. What we have seen with this current spike is that it went to the unvaccinated group, our youngsters. Right now in the hospital, almost everyone is aged 20 to 45. I suspect that the Delta variant came through town, through the immigrants that were left downtown. Our children, Friday and Saturday, 2,000 of them in Iturbide Street, where they should be. 1 minute, but they became infected. So with the children, in the last week, 94,000 people, 94,000 kids have been infected. The hospital rate, 216 children a day that are being hospitalized in our country. A very important point in Laredo. We don't have any hospital beds, pediatric intensive care beds, inpatient pediatric beds. None. All of our children that have been getting sick before COVID are transferred out. So use common sense. We have a virus we can't treat. A little bit of distancing and face masks go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any more in-person speakers, but we do have some virtual speakers. Mr. Francisco Tamés. Francisco Tamés.
Good evening. Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a parent of a United High School sophomore, and I'm here to speak in favor of the mask mandate. I'm also a lawyer in our community, and as a lawyer, I did what lawyers did. I looked at this from a legal perspective and looked up a case that may offer some guidance and some perspective. I'm going to read from the United States Supreme Court case of Jacobson versus Massachusetts. It's a 1905 Supreme Court case. And the issue in Jacobson was the constitutionality of a Massachusetts state law that required smallpox vaccinations of citizens in a city where smallpox was rampant, prevalent, and increasing. Stated differently, Jacobson is a personal liberty case versus a state law or a mandate to have citizens vaccinated because it was for the public health and safety. I'm going to read from page 25, 26, and 27 that quotes the Supreme Court's rationale in why it upheld the state law requiring vaccination. Quote, the defendant insists that his liberty is invaded when the state subjects him to fine or imprisonment for neglecting or refusing to submit to vaccination. That a compulsory vaccination law is unreasonable, arbitrary, and oppressive, and therefore hostile to the interest right of every freeman to care for his own body and health in such a way as to him seems best. And that the execution of such a law against one who objects to vaccination, no matter for what reason, is nothing short of an assault upon his person. But the liberty secured by the Constitution of the United States to every person within its jurisdiction,
you have a minute,
does not import an absolute right in each person to be, at all times and in all circumstances, wholly freed from restraint. There are manifold restraints to which every person is necessarily subject for the common good. On any other basis, organized society could not exist with safety to its members. Society based on the rule that each one is a law unto himself would soon be confronted with disorder and anarchy. Real liberty for all could not exist under the operation of a principle which recognizes the right of each individual person to use his own, whether in respect to his person or his property, regardless of the injury that may be done to others. This court has more than once recognized that it is a fundamental principle that persons and property are subjected to all kinds of restraints and burdens in order to secure the general comfort, health, and prosperity of the state. The possession and enjoyment of all rights are subject to such reasonable conditions as may be deemed by the government authority of the country essential to the safety, health, peace, good order, and morals of the community. Even liberty itself, the greatest of all rights, is not unrestricted license to act according to one's own will. It is only freedom from restraint on conditions essential to the equal enjoyment of the same right by others.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Durley Uribe?
Thank you, sir.
Durley Uribe?
Yes, good evening, Board. I'm here to speak in favor of a mask mandate, and I want to talk a little bit about liberty. There's been a lot of talk from the other side that they want the liberty to do what they want and not wear a mask. But we're in a national and we're in a global pandemic, and all our liberties are restricted because of that. And so we need to do whatever as a community, collectively, in order to crush this virus. And the only way out of this is to get vaccinated. But we have children that are under 12 that are not yet eligible, and they are extremely vulnerable. So we as a collective have to do the next best thing, and what's that? Mitigation. Part of mitigation is mask wearing. This is established. This isn't something that was just discovered yesterday. And if we just leave it to everybody, if they want to wear a mask or not want to wear a mask, it's not going to work. It may not even work with a mask policy. Because you're going to have unruly situations, unruly kids that are not going to comply. But if we have that rule where everyone has to comply with it, we can bring those people in line, those children in line. But if it's just this thing where everybody can just do whatever they want, we're not going to get through this. And that affects everybody's liberty. And so when we talk about liberty, we have to also talk about responsibilities. And when we have a national pandemic, a global pandemic like we have right now, we need to hunker down. We need to get together as a community and figure out what we need to do collectively to crush this virus. Our children are vulnerable. We really need the board to really come together and do what's best for everybody. And it's not just UISD, it's the whole city, it's the whole state, because our hospitals are maxed out. It's not only the pandemic. People are getting heart attacks, people have cancer, people have other ailments that need to be addressed that are not going to be able to address if we're going to have children going to the hospital, if we're going to have people, we're going to have outbreaks. And what we need to do is band together. And the only thing we can do is mitigate social distancing and mask wearing. And the more people that we can get to do that.
Mr. Uribe, your time is up, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Victor Villarreal? Mr. Victor Villarreal? Judge Villarreal?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Victor Villarreal, Judge of Webb County Court of Law 2. I'm here today, however, not as a judge, but as the father of Sofia and Andrea. Students at UISD, whom both of them are under the age of 12, making them ineligible for any vaccine. If the question is legal, whether you have any authority to act, Your counsel has or will advise you. However, know that trial courts around the state have upheld the ability of local governments to protect the persons under their care and jurisdiction. Look, this virus doesn't care about a person's political views. COVID-19 isn't going to pay attention to mandates, orders, courts, or even people's personal thoughts on liberty and personal freedoms. It is infecting, injuring, and killing the vulnerable, and now, the unvaccinated. Adults have a choice. We can get vaccinated or not. We can wear a mask or not. We can go to the movies, concerts, restaurants, or not. Children under the age of 12, like my daughters, they don't have a choice. Board members, you have a choice. Requiring masks may prevent the spread, may prevent infections, and may prevent injury and death. What I want for my daughters is what I want for all students at UISD and all children everywhere, that they be given the best possible chance of success in the best environment to thrive, learn, and grow, reducing any possible threat to their health or safety. Because the preservation of health and life is in the interest of justice, I respectfully and unapologetically request as a father that you require mask mandates. I pray that you choose this and that you're inspired to choose common sense, choose science, and do everything possible to keep our children safe and healthy. For the love of humanity and the love of our children require masks. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Claudia Alanesia Garcia? Not sure if she's online.
Good evening and thank you. I just wanted to say I no longer have children at UISD as my youngest graduated from Alexander High School last year. But I have a 10-year-old nephew going to Borchers Elementary who is immune compromised, and I have friends who are teachers and administrators. There are around dozens of people each day at UISD. I have friends and neighbors who have young children not eligible for vaccination, just as Judge Villarreal's children, and I care about my kids' former teachers and administrators. I chose to be at home by Zoom for the same reasons that many who gave statements against the mask mandate stayed home. Safety. And why the subject of a mask mandate is even up for debate by the district is just beyond me. What authority, they ask, under what authority does the board have to go against the governor's mandate? Well, as my colleague, Francisco Tamés, very succinctly put, the U.S. Constitution and case law precedent interpreting it. Since 1905, the Jacobson case has been upheld, that a person's individual rights are not absolute. Government, such as the board, can curtail individual rights when it is in the interest of public safety and security. So, that was a little constitutional and history lesson for those anti-maskers who keep taunting tyranny. The mask mandates protect everyone, just as Judge Villarreal said. It's for the entire community. The idea that anti-maskers' rights are being infringed upon is ludicrous. Their argument is unreasonable, irresponsible, and reckless. The anti-maskers are making this a political hot potato when in reality, it's a global health crisis that our community has never expected or even considered. We're in a different position today than we were last year because today we have more information and knowledge about how to handle this pandemic, and you need to rely on true health professionals, such as Dr. Segarra with real credentials, and not these so-called doctors that all the anti-vaxxers and the anti-maskers have referred to. They're on the fringes of the medical community, and they didn't even identify them. But who can we go to for credible sources? The Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, all say that masks should be used globally in schools. On August 4th, 2021, the CDC updated their guidance for fully vaccinated people, where it said, and I quote, CDC recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. Children should return to full-time in-person learning in the fall with layered prevention strategies in place. They do state some key takeaways to alleviate any other parents' concerns. That students benefit from in-person learning. We learned that last year. and safety returning to in-person instruction in the fall of 2021 is a priority.
Ms.
More so,
Vanessa Garcia,
localities
your time is up.
Thank you.
Localities should monitor community transmission, and I ask that you instill the mask mandate, and I ask that you also require vaccination.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Eduardo Romero?
Good afternoon, board. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Eduardo Romero. I'm a husband, father, and attorney in our community. However, I'm here on behalf of my two sons, Eduardo and Arturo, students at UISD Elementary School at Colonel Santos. Because they're under 12, they are also ineligible to receive the COVID vaccine, and thus making them more vulnerable to the virus. As their father, I'm here on their behalf to respectfully request that the board issue a mask mandate. We have all followed the news. We have all heard from other speakers. The numbers are on the rise. Our hospitals are at full capacity. And as was even stated by Ms. Bruni, we have no ICU for our children. They are to be taken out of town when they get sick. However, this board has the knowledge, tools, ability, and authority to prevent the spread of this deadly virus among our children. I ask this on behalf of my children, Eduardo and Arturo, and for all UAC children. And I hope that this board makes the best choice, and that is to implement a mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
I do have some comments to read that were submitted online to my email.
Yeah, real quick, Mrs. Hold on. Is there anybody else online? Anybody else participating virtually that needs to speak in favor of the mask mandate?
This is Joe Maldonado. I'd like to speak. I thought I had sent in an email to Ms. Endo. I apologize if I did not.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
May I begin?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, UIC board, teachers, staff, and parents for this opportunity. As I just mentioned, my name is Joe Maldonado Jr., and I have a daughter that's in second grade at one of the UIC elementaries. I know I don't have much time, but I will start by using a quote from one of my old basketball coaches, which is, "It's not about me." I'm here to show my support for the mask mandate. As you can see, I'm wearing mine now. As I mentioned, my daughter's in second grade, and she's ineligible for the vaccine, much like a lot of the students that are 12 and under in UISD. But even if my daughter was eligible and vaccinated, I would still support the mask mandate. That's because masks provide just another layer of protection against this virus. The vaccines are not a cure-all, but they're a very good, in fact, a great layer of protection against this virus. Masks are also a very good, if not great, protection against this virus. I'm reminded of Galatians when we are asked to carry each other's burdens. I know this situation is tough, and I know it's a lot to ask to carry each other's burdens. I also know that I can't protect my daughter from every single danger that's out there, but we can sure try. If it rains, we can send our kids to school with umbrellas or raincoats or rain boots. If we don't, they might get wet. Well, right now it's raining coronavirus in Laredo. And I think this board, as has been told by many people here, has not only the power and the authority, but the ability to give our kids the proper protection against this virus so they don't get wet. Now, these are extraordinary times. And I will say that the board does this stuff all the time. In fact, recently they amended their dress code to go from uniforms to casual dress. They set uniform and clothing standards. This is just one more piece of clothing that they can implement. Now, I understand that there are people out there that don't want to be told how to parent their kids, might be talking about individual freedom and rights, or just for whatever reason don't want to have their kids wear a mask. It may be loud, but I would ask this board to consider us the silent majority. The reason I call this silent is because look at the vaccination numbers in Laredo. I'm very proud to be in a community that has such high vaccination numbers. All those people, the 94% of people over 65, the 76% that are fully vaccinated.
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you.
One last thing, ma'am, if I may, if I have permission to speak, I have less than 30 seconds.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will finish with what I'm reminded in Philippians, which is instead of watching out for our own good, we should watch out for what's the better of others. We're all a team here. We're trying to do our best to protect our kids. And as I started at the beginning, it's not about me. It's about us, and it's about them, our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I did have one more parent, sir, who was responding that she was not given the opportunity to speak. She could not log into Zoom. I'm not sure if she's on. Ms. Nicole Arias. Nicole Arias. She did submit a comment, but she said Zoom was turned off. Has she been trying to get in? She's not trying to get in. Okay. I do have a stack, sir, of comments. I'll start reading. These are from retired educators, Rolando and Sandy Benavides. United ISD board members, as members of the United ISD community, we are incredibly concerned for the safety of all of our students and educators that will, in just a few days, be returning to our classrooms. The state of our world during these times of COVID is putting all people at a health risk and possibly even death, especially the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated include the thousands of students that we serve that are under the age of 12. These innocent children are being subjected to the raft of this pandemic, and as a district, we must step up to the challenge of these difficult times and to protect them. We urgently request that the wearing of masks be mandated at all UISD facilities. Our own City of Laredo government stated on August 10, 2021, our hospitals are at a maximum capacity with 87 COVID-19 patients being treated. An additional 43 are still waiting for a hospital bed. The majority of these cases are unvaccinated. We strongly encourage the use of face masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status, and to get vaccinated as soon as possible. This fact alone is enough for us to understand that with the welcoming of our students, we will also be facing a dramatic increase in COVID cases that our health professionals will not be able to care for. As stated by the federal CDC organization, in addition to wearing masks, the best defense for safeguarding our children is to surround them with vaccinated individuals. Therefore, we are requesting that all UISD employees be required to be vaccinated, as well as all students age 12 and over. Based on the aggressiveness of the Delta variant and the variants that are scientifically being predicted to follow, all parents of children under the age of 12 should be given the option of continuing a virtual learning until the age-appropriate vaccine is available. As a student-centered organization, why do we want to put our most valuable resource at risk? Again, in the interest of our students and educators, number 1, mandate masks, 2, require vaccines, and 3, allow virtual learning. From Ms. Cordelia Orengo, UISD retired administrator, attention UISD board, please consider mandating the use of masks by all UISD students and personnel. This inconvenience is nothing compared to having any one person get and or transmit COVID-19 to our precious children and staff. Don't hesitate to take action. Please mandate masking. After someone gets sick, it's too late. Better to err on the side of our students and UISD staff than be sorry. Thank you for your attention to this very important concern. May God guide your decision. Cristina Trevino. With the start of the school year around the corner and the rising COVID-19 cases in our city, I ask, in an act of desperation for our children's safety, that we enforce a mask mandate for the school children. I understand that it is not required based on new TEA guidelines, but with a child under the age of 12 who does not qualify to get vaccinated, along with being immunocompromised due to medication taken for various autoimmune diseases, my anxiety is at an all-time high sending my child back to school. I am a single mother who lost her mother earlier this year to cancer, and we spent the last year social distancing and not even hugging my mother out of fear of her catching COVID and experiencing something life-threatening. It will have been in vain should we allow our district to not require masks among those at the campuses. If I had the means, I would gladly unenroll my child from attendance and homeschool him. However, as I am not in this position, I am hoping that you will look at the statistics and the overwhelming infection rate over the last month and require masks to ensure the utmost safety of our children. I can assure you that although there may be pushback, you can't argue with fact-based science and parents on the rampage should their children become infected and spread it among the families. Please think of the safety of our children, our teachers and staff and their families. Respectfully worried, Cristina Trevino. I'm writing this email as a concerned parent, first and foremost, as well as a concerned citizen and healthcare provider in our community. I have kept both my children as safe as possible since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm terrified with the upcoming start of the school year due to the exponentially rising cases and ease of transmissibility of the virus. My children are not vaccinated at this time due to their ages. Therefore, their risk is high for contracting the virus. I am in favor of mandating the use of masks in our children's school, not because I do not believe in freedom or the importance of personal responsibility, rather because I firmly believe in the greater good of all. Masks are an easy, affordable way of helping mitigate the spread of this virus. I ask that those in positions of power take the time to consider enforcing the use of masks to protect our most precious assets, our children. Respectfully, Carla Gutierrez. My nieces and nephews attend UISD schools and are currently ineligible for the vaccine. Please see my comment below. Our disabled and unvaccinated children deserve a virtual option and at the very least assurance that regular COVID testing will be done and masks will be mandated. Anything other than this dangerous, albeit classic and cruel. All private schools where the children of the wealthy attend will be requiring masks. That is no coincidence. Please listen to the science and work with the teachers and students who have been amazingly patient and resilient during this global pandemic. Thank you, Beatriz Mendoza. For what it's worth, as a parent and employee, I am for the mask mandate in schools because I believe the value of a human life far outweighs a minor inconvenience placed on personal freedom. Respectfully, Veronica Brown. This is my first time doing this, something like this. I am a mother of 2 children, 13 years old and a 10-year-old. I am all for kids returning back to school, but not during this time when children are the most vulnerable due to not being eligible to get a vaccine, yet till late October, early November. I, as a mom, I am worried about my children and other children getting the virus and have not having protection. I would like you to please take into consideration my request of keeping all children virtual for the first few months of school. Just like at the beginning of registering children into school for kinder, making it mandatory to have their vaccines up to date, we need to make this a must and then mandatory in order to enter back to school. Whoever does not want child to vaccinate, they can look for another option. Another is to please have mandatory masks for all in place. I, as a mother, will be more at ease knowing that my only girl has some protection with vaccination and all children are keeping one another safe with mandatory masks. Make this vaccine mandatory to come back to school with masks. As for the other selfish people in higher positions in Texas, they cannot be playing with our or my children's lives and health. Their safety is and should be number one. This is common sense. Look at what's going on around the world and in Texas. It will only get worse if we are not safe. I do not want to lose or have health complications for my only 2 children due to other selfish people's ignorance. Please help us. Let's stay virtual till our children get vaccinated. I appreciate you and you're taking your time to read my email. If you need anything else, have questions, let me know. Thank you, Lidia Mendoza. As a grandparent of a UIZ student, I am in favor of the students wearing their mask. According to science and medical doctors, the Delta variant is more aggressive and contagious. The mask is for the safety of the students, teachers, and staff, whether they are vaccinated or not. With this no mask mandate, I fear the lives of our children, teachers, staff, and their families. Studies show that even vaccinated individuals may pass a coronavirus to theirs. Is that what the district wants? I know that UIZ has always been in the forefront of safety for all who pass through the doors of their schools. I am usually not outspoken, but in this case, I felt I must stand up for my grandson and the citizens of Laredo. Please, please mandate masks for everyone's health and safety's sake. Thank you, Board of Directors, Mr. Gonzalez, Superintendent, and Administration for everything that you do for our children and grandchildren. God bless you for all your passionate and dedication. Ana Wershing, grandparent. My name is Ana Herrera, and I'm writing to you in reference to the mask mandate for UISD, as I am in full support of such mandate. I am pleading with you and other representatives and parents to please do all you can to protect our children during this time, or at least until vaccine is available for our school-age children. One of my children has severe allergies and asthma, so we opted for online learning last year. It was a huge adjustment to our home life, work schedules, and for their teachers, but we all adjusted as we were in this together. My children had perfect attendance, got all A's, and my son passed his STAR test at the end of the year. We are no closer to the end of this pandemic, and if so, online learning is not an option, then please require a mask for everyone in the building. We have all adhered to previous requirements for vaccines, attendance, no nuts on campus, and school uniforms. I cannot imagine that a mask is much different during a respiratory pandemic. To the parents who are objecting, I get it. You have healthy children and have never rushed your child to an ER with whispers of breath and watch them struggle to get air, but some of us have. Please come together now for the sake of the one or several that need you to. We use sunscreen because the benefits outweigh the risk. We purchase every car seat, even though recalls have been made for safety issues year after year. And as comfortable as a seatbelt is, we demand it is worn and correctly fastened before taking our precious children anywhere. I humbly ask that you please reconsider this fight. It is not the fight to have at this time. After vaccines are available, each parent can choose what's best for their families. But for now, let's give them all the tools to move forward and in good health. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, Ana Herrera. I wish to express how I hope the board does implement a mask initiative to keep us and our students safe. Thank you, Ms. Aurora Soto. I vote for mandatory masks to be enforced, and this is by Jeanette Castro. Until all members of our household are eligible to be vaccinated, I think it is very important that our kids use face masks mandatory at all schools, because lots of families will still have little kids that can't vaccinate because of their age, and we are putting them at risk. In favor of face masks mandatory at schools, from Cristel Garcia. This is Cristel Mercado, the same statement. Nina M04. Le escribo este correo porque estoy a favor de que sea obligatorio usar los cubrebocas en las escuelas en el próximo ciclo escolar. Les pido de favor sea tomado en cuenta mi petición debido a la pandemia COVID-19 y a las cepas Delta, Alfa, y además tristemente ahora los niños son los más vulnerables. Sorry about my Spanish. Les pido de favor haga llegar este mail en caso de que sea requerido mi presencia. Estoy en la mejor disposición por su atención. Gracias. As a parent of a UISD student, I strongly believe our children and staff should be required to use masks during school hours to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and Delta variant with all new cases rising. I am concerned for the safety of my child. I hope you take this into consideration at the board meeting. Thank you, parent of a UISD, UHS high school student, Brenda Mendez. If UID expects for my children to attend school, then I expect that the board require the use of all masks for all staff and children. If this is not possible, then I expect the district to be responsible by separating the unmasked children from those who choose to wear a mask. They can be placed in a dedicated classroom or their gym with their Chromebooks. Cristina Hernández. Buenas tardes, quisiera que tomaran en cuenta mi voto a favor del uso de mascarillas obligatorio. Es una gran preocupación, aún estando nosotros como adultos vacunados, que nuestros niños se lleguen a contagiar. Tengan al menor consideración hasta que todos los menores de 12 años se puedan vacunar. Tenemos adultos mayores como familia y esto es una gran preocupación para todas las familias. Que Dios los guíe en la decisión que tomen el día de hoy. Mariel Bermúdez. G. Valadez. The Carrizales family is in favor of the mask mandate at a school. I believe it is important to keep the little ones safe, being that they have not been vaccinated. As a new parent, I am very concerned, and it would ease my worries knowing that the school will mandate mask policy. Thank you for your time. Gladys Carrizales. Yo sí quiero que mi hija Sofía Ex Camacho lleve cubreboca, pues con la verdad nos da más seguridad del bajo contagio. Nosotros hemos permanecido mucho en casa y me parece la manera correcta de poder convivir de una forma menos insegura. De Erendira Camacho. As a medical professional, it is imperative that masks are mandated for all students and staff regardless of vaccination status if UISD expects for students to return. Safety is a paramount and especially critical at this time. If masks are not mandated across the board, then at a minimum, provide parents with the option of virtual instruction. Please have consideration for vulnerable student staff and all unvaccinated elementary children. Dr. Cristina Hernandez. Good afternoon. I am in favor of using face masks. Sandra Valdenegro. Hope this message finds you well. I was informed that today there will be a meeting where the mandatory use of masks for elementary school will be discussed. My daughter will be going to first grade at Colonel Santos starting on Monday. With the current health situation, it is critical that all students and school staff wear masks while in school premises to slow down the spread of COVID. Please make my voice heard as a parent who is very concerned and would like to have masks mandatory in schools until cases are under control or vaccines are available for children. Thank you in advance. Sincerely, Bianca Wessel. In favor of masks for the safety of students and families, Alejandra Solis de Mora. UISD, if you want to ensure the safety of students, staff, and our vulnerable population, then make the responsible choice of mandating masks. The health and safety of your student body should supersede the governor's nonsense. Also, your protocols for not notifying parents of a positive case is poor, regardless of exposure. However, when a child is found to have lice, a notice goes out to the parents of all students. From Cristina Hernandez. No rest for the weary. The Alexander High School Moms WhatsApp sent out a notice that you are open to parental feedback about the masks. I want to weigh in as both as a parent and as your insurance partner. First off, you may well know United ISD has a significant population that suffers from underlying health conditions. Masking for them may well mean the difference between life and death. Your field is already challenging and largely unappreciated. It has changed so much from the days when my grandmother was a school principal 70 years ago. As a parent, I am concerned that many great tenured teachers will give up and walk away. Our kids need them now more than ever. I appreciate the value of a young workforce, but with experience comes wisdom. As a parent, I would like to see the district set the guidelines and not leave it up to the kids and or the parents. I am blessed to have a very compliant teenager, but so many kids and their parents spend more energy trying to game the system than just doing the work. Leaving the choice to parents will mean the good, kind, and compassionate children will carry the social burden, while the selfish will seem to be rewarded. That being said, perhaps there is a middle ground. Children under 12 and their teachers most definitely need to be masked. For those over 12, I suggest the teacher exercise their discretion. If they want everyone masked, that should be the classroom rule. If they are comfortable without masks, so be it. You are all in my prayers. Tina Holiday 7. We still need to wear the mask. From Leticia Garza. Please be advised that I am hereby in favor of mask mandates. Selena Mireles. I vote for mask use in school. My kids attend UMS and Alexander High School. Julie Lopez. From Maylene Acostia, I would like to let you know that I am for the mask mandate. I believe our students should wear a mask to protect each other. Our kids are at risk, especially those under the age of 12. I kindly ask that you let the board know how we parents feel about this mandate. Regards, Maylene H. Costilla. In favor of making masks mandatory, especially for elementary children, since they are at the most risk right now. Thank you, mom of a 6-year-old, 13-year-old, 17-year-old, worried to send her children to school, Diana Montante. As a teacher and a parent at United ISD, I believe that it is pertinent to enforce the mask mandate in order to support a safe and nurturing learning environment. As a second-year teacher, I would love this experience of being in front of the classroom, which I was unable to do last year due to the pandemic. To do this, I believe mandating masks would lower the possibility for another lockdown. If our health and safety is necessary for teaching and learning, then we must do what is within our control to protect ourselves. While the virus is completely out of control, wearing a mask, using shields in the classroom is not. Board members, please place us in a position where we can have a successful school year so that we can close learning gaps and promote social, emotional skills. The only way we can do that is to effectively is if we remain safe. Thank you so much for your attention to this matter. Have a great rest of the day. Carolina Prado. Estamos a favor de que todos los estudiantes usen mascarilla en la escuela. Miranda Serna, Alexander High School. Hola, buenas tardes. Yo soy a favor de que lleven cubrebocas a la escuela porque en casa vive mi mamá, mi papá, y temo por su salud. Y además mi hijo, el mayor, es broncoasmático. Y para la seguridad de la familia, sugiero que lleven cubrebocas. Muchas gracias por su atención, Rosy Martínez. We are for mask mandate use in school. Sara V. Lopez. I am emailing you in hopes that you will share my perspective as a very concerned parent of an 8, 11, and 17-year-old. Both of my younger children have not been given an opportunity to receive the vaccine. They do not have an option to receive a vaccine as they do not meet the age criteria. Can you guarantee that they will not be exposed, infected, or worse, suffer severe symptoms or consequences? Forcing unvaccinated, unmasked children to gather in large crowds is misguided and inconsiderate. Please consider protecting my children by mandating that everyone wear masks, especially when dealing with age groups that have not been given the opportunity to be vaccinated. I appreciate your time and thank you in advance for your consideration. Joanne Czar. I am a very concerned parent of Benai Elementary School where my baby girl is entering next Monday, the 16th. I heard the news regarding the board meeting we are going to hold tonight, and after hearing the news that more than 1,000 kids in Mississippi tested positive for COVID-19 after schools reopened, I implore you to please consider that the least protection our children should have is to wear a mask. The face mask is the only thing that has maintained myself and my colleagues at work safe during this pandemic. God bless. Itzel Solares Perez. As a healthcare provider in the community, I strongly urge UISD to do what is in the best interest of its students, faculty, and staff. Approve a mandatory mask requirement for everyone entering the schools for any reason. This is a small sacrifice that we can all do for each other to protect our health and that of our loved ones. Rose A. Saldívar. Buenas tardes. Como madre de dos niños que cursaron este nuevo ciclo escolar en el distrito, me parece muy preocupante que el uso de cubrebocas no sea obligatorio. Nuestros hijos están expuestos al virus y ellos aún son más vulnerables a no estar vacunados, debido a que no cumplen con la edad mínima para ser vacunados. Ellos cursan primer año y tercer año de primaria en la elementary. Yo estoy a favor del uso obligatorio de cubrebocas de antemano. Muchas gracias, Cristina Garza. Yes, everyone should wear a mask. From Adriana Flores. From Noel Reese, as a UIZ parent, I am extremely concerned and worried for the health and safety of my children and every child that is starting school next week. UIC should have a mask mandate to protect all students and staff. COVID-19 does not discriminate. The Delta variant is more contagious than previous strains and affects more and more children every day. Our hospitals are at a max, and Laredo does not have a pediatric ICU. Children under 12 still cannot receive the vaccine, and the only way to protect them is by mask. I hope that the administration and the board make the right decision tonight and put our children first. I am in favor of mask mandate due to the current situation in our local hospitals and the current conditions in our state and country. Eric Albaran. I'm a parent from UISD, and our household is in favor for mandatory mask mandate. Please go against Abbott and think of the children's health and lives. Thank you, Ivan A. Solo para confirmar que en mi caso estamos a favor del uso de la máscara, no solo en el salón de clases, preferentemente en todas las áreas del distrito. Cuidemos a nuestras familias de UISD. Gracias, familia Martínez. I'm a parent from UISD. I am concerned about not having a mandatory use of masks. Our city is almost in full capacity again in the hospitals, and Laredo does not have the resources for ICU for children. I am concerned about my kids going present to school. I really liked last year having it online, even though I am aware kids need to socialize. I think right now health security is over socializing, and we are praying everything goes back to normal to see our schools and city safe. Praying for all those who are in authority, make a wise decision. Blessings, Mildred Hinojosa. Hola, buenas tardes para todos los estudiantes del distrito. Lo correcto y lo más seguro en estos momentos tan difíciles sería que el uso de cubrebocas fuera obligatorio. Gracias, Alma Treviño de Zapata. Ms. Nadia Walls, good afternoon. I'm a parent of 2 children attending Alexander High School. I'm extremely concerned about my kids going back to school given COVID-19 numbers in our area are rising. I would much rather have my kids at home with virtual learning. I understand presently this is not an option. What is bothersome to me is the fact that the district is not requiring students to wear a mask. Both of my kids are vaccinated, but with the new COVID-19 Delta variant, even vaccinated people are getting sick. I would really appreciate if the district would consider, and regardless of what Governor Abbott is doing, would mandate all students, teachers, administrative staff, and all school employees to wearing masks. Different cities around Texas and states in the U.S. are being proactive and mandating masks. How many more deaths do we need for the school district to act on this? Just like many people around the world, I lost my mother to COVID this year, and I know firsthand how hard this can be. Let's work together in making our kids safe and have a safe school year. Thank you for your time, Nidia Walls. Angie Betancourt, please be advised I'm in favor of a mask mandate. I have 4 children at UISD. 2 are under the age of 12 and don't have the option to be vaccinated. At least the mask will offer some sort of protection for them and others around them. Marisol Cantu, good afternoon. I am a concerned parent that wishes all students wear their face masks at school. Hopefully more parents feel the same way. Bobby Molina, it's been brought to my attention that UISD school may not require masks for staff and kids attending this year. I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I am with our UIC administrators. I'm sure, just like me, they don't have medical degrees. The numbers are rising at an alarming rate, and people are turning a blind eye to this. Non-vaccinated kids are dying. I had just convinced my wife not to homeschool our kids and stayed employed with UISD. We had decided to keep our kids in school due to mask mandate for the safety of our children. I strongly recommend that all staff and kids wear masks in school. You are more than welcome to contact me with any questions or concerns regarding this email. Susie Mancera. I would like to express that I feel there should be a mask mandate in our public schools. UISD prides itself in putting children first and providing a safe learning environment for them. Let's do this by enforcing a mask mandate. Both the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics are recommending that our children that are not vaccinated against COVID-19 wear masks indoors in schools. I have 3 children under the age of 12 that are not eligible for vaccines. Please partner up with us parents to keep our children safe as they begin the long-awaited school year in person that they much deserve. Thank you for your time and your dedication to our school district, community, and students. A. Garza, kids under the age of 12 have no way to get vaccinated. We as a community have to do what is right for them. I am asking for you to require masks for all kids. but especially for the 12-year-olds and under, 6th grade and under. At the end of the day, you will have to choose between parents that want a mask and parents that don't want a mask. I ask you to do it for the health and safety of our community as a whole. Please require masks for all students and staff. My apologies for being part of the bombardment of emails you are probably receiving today. Sorry. But it has come to my attention that there will be a meeting today to discuss the implementation of a mask mandate at UIC. I'm afraid I can't attend this meeting to voice my concerns, but I am even more afraid of what can and most probably will happen to our children if masks are not required at school. I have 2 children who are too young to be vaccinated. While I understand wearing a mask may be uncomfortable, the benefits and prevention of mask wearing far outweigh the inconvenience, the consequences of contracting COVID. I would appreciate if you would express or include my thoughts during your deliberations at the meeting. Thank you very much for your kind attention to my email, and I completely understand if you cannot respond. Sara Martinez Olivares. Carol Gano, as a healthcare provider and grandmother of 5 children recovering positive COVID and 4 children, I support implementing a mandatory mask policy for all students and staff of UIC. Please include my vote. Kathy Lozano. If we have learned anything during this pandemic, it's that masks work. Flu, common colds, and several other contagious diseases are down. We now know that even the vaccinated can get COVID. Why risk having to shut down again? Too much is at stake here. Our future. Because our future are our children, and their education is key to having them succeed in life, they must go back to in-person, face-to-face, and stay that way the full school year. And that cannot be jeopardized at any cost, even the uncomfort of having a mask on. I beg you don't risk the health of our children or their education. We can have both with the mask on. Thank you and God bless. Kathy Lozano. This is from Lisbeth Perez. My email is to make a personal comment on why I believe face masks should be enforced in school. I, without hesitation, would speak at tonight's meeting, but you can also just read my testimonial if you want. Both my kids started attending face-to-face classes back by the end of March, beginning in April. My oldest son was in 5th grade and my youngest in kinder. Through the months, face masks were enforced. They never got sick with any illness. They were able even to take PE classes using their face masks, and they didn't have any trouble breathing. My husband and I decided it was for the best of them to take summer school so that they could get more used to being in their classrooms again and for them to be better prepared for this coming school year. By summer school, face masks were no longer required. My oldest son's teacher made the students very aware of that, and unfortunately, the only thing that happened is that he got sick, and days after, my youngest boy too. Thankfully, not with COVID. But they missed several days of school, and my youngest almost a week. This was the very first time they got sick since the pandemic began. And all the efforts we made to protect ourselves for more than 1 year were in vain, and I couldn't go to work those days too. My youngest boy has a condition called cyclic neutropenia. His white blood cells decrease considerably every 6 weeks, and he is more exposed to getting severely sick during that period of time. He is also allergic to penicillin, so not every medicine works on him. It is very difficult to us just to think he is not able to get vaccinated now because of his age, and that he is at higher risk of getting a more severe lung infection if he gets COVID. And that even though I will tell my kids to use a face mask, some parents would not, and no one can do anything about it. I believe that there are things that should be left to everyone's decision, but not face masks at school. We as adults are the examples for our kids to follow, and they are the future of our world. But as sad as it sounds, not every adult believes in empathy and won't think in what would happen to another person or child with their own actions, and would tell their kids not to use a face mask at school unless it is enforced and children have no choice but to wear them. Sincerely, Lisbeth D. Pérez. Buenas tardes, me dirijo de la manera más atenta para sugerir al Distrito United ISD el uso de mascarillas obligatorio, así como la opción de clases virtuales. Mi hijo, que va a entrar a pre-kinder, es muy enfermizo, al momento se encuentra con tos. Gracias a Dios no es COVID, pero ya tiene más de una semana. Además, tengo un bebé de 2 meses, la cual el enferma puede ser contagiada. En mi familia hemos perdido varios miembros a causa del COVID-19, por lo cual no entiendo por qué no protegemos. Si lo ven por el lado económico, cada estudiante que enferme va a estar ausente por varios días y eso indica pérdida para el distrito. Si estamos protegidos al distrito, no perdería esos ingresos. En lo personal, yo no voy a enviar a mis hijos si no hay protección. En la ciudad no tenemos una área pediátrica para atender a los niños, además que en 4 días de clases presenciales de las escuelas privadas ya tenemos 2 niños contagiados en la ciudad. Y así podría seguir dándole datos, la tasa de hospitalización, etcétera, pero no quiero abusar de su tiempo. Gracias por su amable atención. Dalia Hernández. I don't think more. Needs water. Elba González.
Yo me había apuntado para hacer una presentación también, pero no han dicho mi nombre.
¿Su nombre?
Edith Espinosa.
Señora Espinosa, déjame ver. Ms. Rendon, ya terminó. Did you finish with your reading?
No, sir, I
No,
think
she has
that-
50 more.
about 20 more, sir.
You should just take a little break.
It's up to you, sir. These are, just, from what I'm seeing, they're short, just one sentence statements.
Okay, let me get Ms. Espinosa, take a little break.
Okay.
Let me get Ms. Espinosa and while you take a break.
Thank you.
And Ms. Espinosa, tiene 2 minutos.
Ok, queridos Board of Directors, que en ustedes confiamos como padres de familia para salvaguardar la salud de nuestros hijos. Yo hice una petición que fue firmada por más de 4,000 padres porque compartimos la misma preocupación de que el Distrito Escolar de UISD no tiene un mandato de uso de mascarillas ni un mandato de reporte de contagio del COVID-19. Y esto nos preocupa demasiado, ya que el nuevo variante Delta es 2 veces más fuerte que el anterior. Y como escucharon al doctor Cigarroa, los niños hispanos son muchas veces más propensos a contagiarse. No solamente eso, pero, o sea, las escuelas se van a volver un epicentro de contagios, aunque usen mascarillas. Eso lo aprendimos del año pasado. Yo le doy gracias a Dios que el año pasado sí tuvimos clases virtuales, porque el año pasado yo y mis hijos nos contagiamos de COVID. Y gracias a que estábamos tomando clases virtuales, creo que prevenimos que mucha gente más se contagiara de COVID. Ahora, yo no le deseo a nadie que sus hijos se enfermen porque las fiebres son muy altas y las desveladas son muy pesadas. Además de eso, no hay nada más feo que sentir que a lo mejor se le puede morir un hijo de COVID. Cuanto más ahorita con este Delta strain que está surgiendo y ha estado saturando los hospitales en Florida, ya no tienen cupo para los niños en los hospitales pediátricos. En San Antonio se están llenando y las escuelas están por empezar. Ahora, sin un mandato de mascarillas, yo quisiera que por favor nos dieran la opción de clases virtuales o presenciales a discreción de los padres, ya que si nuestros hijos se contagian, tendríamos que salir fuera del pueblo porque el área no cuenta con un hospital pediátrico. Además, ambos de nuestros hospitales ya están al 100% de capacidad de pacientes de COVID. Así lo dijo el doctor Víctor Treviño, cabeza de nuestra salud local, cuando habló con él en la entrevista de Mr. Amante en Telemundo. Y también se lo volvió a decir a nuestro mayor en la entrevista que tuvo en el Facebook Live ayer. Entonces, dado todos los hechos, ¿verdad? Ya les hablaron jueces, abogados, doctores, padres de familia, madres de familia, ¿verdad? Yo sé que están lidiando contra un gobierno ahorita. Greg Abbott, ¿verdad? Que ya se terminó mi tiempo. Gracias.
Si quiere terminar, señora.
Ok, pues ya les hablaron todos, ¿verdad? Y creo que todos estamos en la misma página. No podemos dejar que Greg Abbott, ¿cómo se llama?, interfiera o infrinja nuestros derechos a vida. Todos tenemos el mismo derecho a la vida, como dice el 14th Amendment. Y también tenemos el Universal Human Rights de 1968, que protege el derecho de vida a todos nosotros, y que los gobiernos y los estados no pueden infringir en ese derecho más básico y absoluto para todas las naciones.
Muchas gracias, señora.
I'll continue. As a UISD taxpayer, and very much for the school mask mandate, our kids and community deserve to be safe. Elba Gonzalez. I wish we had more time, as I know a majority of parents are supporting the mask mandate. I, as well as at least 130 other concerned citizens, are in favor of this. Please share the screenshot of petition on change.org from Vita Ramos. And she did attach the petition. Familia González, buenas tardes. Estamos a favor de que se use el cubrebocas obligatorio todo el tiempo en la escuela, por lo menos los primeros meses hasta que bajen los contagios. In favor of masks, for Michelle Reséndez. Me atrevo, I can read this because it's spelled like if it was texted. Que mi niña la mayor esté de United Day escuela de paga y ahí entraron desde el 6 de agosto. Ahí ya hay 2 contagios que yo sepa y eso que ahí es obligatorio el uso de cubrebocas. Ahí hay 15 niños por salón y solo 2 grupos por grado. Imagínense acá en una escuela pública y sin usar protección. Apoyo el uso del tapabocas. Nada nos cuesta, Rocío Reina. A Danelia Casas, le escribo para informarle que firme la petición para el uso de cubrebocas obligatorio en todas las escuelas, especialmente United Middle. Estoy segura que si no toman estas medidas, nuestros hijos corren mucho peligro. Sabemos que no importa si están o no vacunados. Con las nuevas variantes, todos estamos corriendo el peligro de contagiarnos. Y no es justo que nuestro gobernador quiera imponer su forma de pensar y no respetar la vida de nuestros hijos y sus familias. Estaremos orando para que con la ayuda de Dios ustedes puedan lograr que se respete la vida y integridad de nuestros hijos y de la comunidad entera. Adanilia Casas. Por el bienestar de la comunidad entera, sin distinción política, debe ser obligatorio el uso de cubrebocas. Será la única manera de poder acabar pronto con la pandemia, a menos que ocurra un milagro y el virus se acabe este fin de semana. Pero como no es así, lo único que puede ayudar es el cubrebocas. Maye Said de Cortinas. My vote is for all kids and faculty to wear a mask. I have kids in Alexander High School and Colonel Santos. Thank you. Ana Cecilia Puente. Marta Mejia, I am in favor of mandatory face masks covering for students, staff, and visitors in UISD as they are not eligible for COVID-19 vaccines yet. Please do the right thing and protect our children. Marta Mejia. I am in favor of mandatory face masks covering for all UISD students, staff, and visitors, especially where kids don't qualify as vaccination candidates yet. Claudia Roldan. I seek to petition that existing district funds be released and approved for remote option at today's board meeting, but at the very least, there should be a mask mandate. Salomé Cox. Buenas tardes, hago de su conocimiento mi total apoyo a favor del uso de cubrebocas en las escuelas, tanto de todo el personal así como los estudiantes. Esto con el fin de proteger la salud de mis hijos y de todos los demás. Atentamente, Erendira Ramírez. I am in favor of mandatory face masks covering for all UIC students, staff, and visitors, especially where kids don't qualify as vaccination candidates yet. Eric Mejia. To whom it may concern, we have 3 kids at San Isidro, and we are in favor of the mandatory face masks. Hector Treviño. A favor de uso de cubrebocas, Ana, and I can't make out the last name. Rolando Michelangeli. As a member of the community, I fully support a mask mandate for the schools. I feel that aside from being vaccinated, which is not possible with younger children, masks and distance are among our first line of defense against COVID-19 and should be utilized as much as possible. Brenda Treviño, as a parent of a UIZ elementary student, I am in favor of the mandatory face mask requirement. I'm writing as a concerned parent of a child not yet eligible for the vaccine. I am respectfully asking that UIC make it a requirement to wear masks, as it's one of the very few lines of defense of those who are unvaccinated. More and more children are becoming seriously ill with COVID, and we do not yet know the long-term effects that might have because of it. The health of our children is worth taking a stand for. Respectfully, Yesenia Tapia. To whom it may concern, we're in favor of mandatory use of face covers in schools due to the COVID pandemic and the health crisis. Thank you, Humberto Treviño. As a former educator, I'm asking that a mask mandate be implemented for the safety of all staff and most importantly, students. Many of the students do not have access to the vaccine, so mandating masks is the only true measure of safety the district can provide to our students. This will be an enclosed classroom for hours wearing the mask that has been proven scientifically to help prevent the spread of COVID. Respectfully, Maria Linares Beltran. Joe Rivera. My name is Joe Rivera. I was told that we could submit our vote for masks via this email address. As a father of a fifth grader at Colonel Santos Benavides Elementary School, we want all children to be required to wear masks. I am an employee of one of the local hospitals, and while I am not speaking for the hospital, I see on a daily basis how dire the situation is, becoming more and more infected every day, and our resources at both hospitals being taxed tremendously. Furthermore, we are also the parents of a 20-year-old that was recently infected by COVID, who spent several days at home, apparently improving, but eventually had to be taken to the hospital via EMS. She spent 5 days there by herself because we could not visit her. She was discharged on Tuesday of this week. We are still having to monitor her to make sure that she does not relapse. This variant is not sparing younger folks. I know we are all exhausted by this past year and a half. We want normalcy, but this is not the time to lose sight of how dangerous this virus is. We vote yes to masks required by staff and students. Nino Cardenas. UISD's own mission statements include to inspire all students to become responsible world citizens. What better way to inspire responsibility than by putting that into action? It's been proven that the second best defense COVID-19 are masks. The first is vaccination. Since we can't vaccinate our children, the responsible thing to do is to implement the next best course of action, mandate masks. Ideally, vaccinate all teachers and staff. It's the adult thing to do. Thank you, Bernardino Cárdenas. I, Cecia Guajardo Perez, a retired UISD teacher, am concerned about our students not wearing a mask for the coming school year in our city where the COVID pandemic is surging. Our children should be protected by our school district. It is the responsibility of UISD to ensure the safety of our children. All our children should wear a mask, as simple as that. Our logo says it, for children, not for Abbott. Our children's safety first. A favor del uso de cubrebocas obligatorio para todo el personal y alumnos durante horario de clase, gracias. Anaí Mireles. A quien corresponde, estamos a favor de uso obligatorio de cubrebocas en las escuelas a causa de la pandemia y estado crítico de salud en Laredo, Texas. Atentamente, Patricia Galván. Good evening, trustees and superintendent. We are the parents of a 6-year-old daughter who will be a new student with the district at Colonel Santos Benavides Elementary School. We urge you to enact a mask mandate at all campuses for students, staff, teachers, and administrators. We entrust the well-being, safety, and care of our children into your hands. Given the significant uptick in COVID cases, so many of which are now affecting children, and given the science that shows the effectiveness of masks is slowing the spread of coronavirus during this global pandemic, please do the right thing and enact a mask mandate when school starts on Monday. Laredo is currently in the midst of a steep incline in COVID cases, and more than 20% of hospitalizations are COVID cases. UISD lies in the heart of the city. This wave, statistically, will be the worst wave since the beginning of the pandemic. In the past, we have seen the success of mask wearing and social distancing on the coronavirus by dramatically lowering the number of cases. As parents, we are excited at an opportunity for in-person learning, and we want safety for our children in order to make this school year happen successfully. In following the trend line of this current wave, we need for you to act prudently and protect our children from becoming part of the majority of COVID cases in the city. Please vote yes to enact the mask mandate tonight. Respectfully, Tricia Cortez and Joey Lopez Jr. Ricardo Gonzalez, I just want to ask you as a person in charge of the security and safety of our children while in schools to please mandate at our schools. Mandate masks at our schools. Our children right now are the most vulnerable, and once someone gets sick, this pandemic situation is only going to get worse. We can't let political issues or even financial interests be more important than the child or someone else's life. Roxanne Castro, I'm in favor of face coverings for students, teachers, staff, and visitors. I hope UISD can mandate their use while being at school in order to protect each from the virus. Thank you, Roxanne Castro. I have 2 more comments that we could not see if they were for or against.
Go ahead, ma'am, if you want to read them.
Okay. I have 2 children, one in elementary school and another in middle school, both of them not of age to get the vaccine. I firmly believe that in our freedoms and understand the arguments presented by both sides from people that are against the mask and people that are for the masks. You see the statistics, and it is clear that the chances of a child contracting the virus and becoming seriously ill are low, and there is a very high chance that they will overcome the virus. However, the problem here is that the risk of your child to be the one that does contract the virus and does become seriously ill is too great of a risk. No matter how small the chance, statistically speaking, and so much more in a community that is not medically ready to handle these cases. Unless you work in the hospital system, most people are not fully aware and do not fully comprehend the dire situation we are in as a community. We aren't even in a position where we can handle all the adult cases in our existing hospital system. Not a single child's life is worth taking the risk that has possibility of being deadly, no matter how small that percentage is. I have the following 3 questions. Is it an option to designate a campus or campuses or area of campus or classroom for persons that do not wish for their children to wear a mask? This way, both groups will be satisfied. All unmasked children will be together, and all the masked children will be together as well. This will alleviate the added stress for both sides. Number 2, can there be an option to pay for whoever wishes to attend virtual classes? I understand that UISD is not providing virtual classes since TEA will not provide the funding for a virtual program. But can UISD provide a virtual option for a fee so that it can be feasible to have the program? And number 3, why are we not able to reallocate, transfer funds, or adjust a budget for a virtual option, at least until the vaccine is available for our children, the way other school districts out of town have managed to do? This should be a priority given the current circumstances. And this is for from Linda Martinez.
I have a public comment.
And the
I'm
last,
I'm sorry.
the last one I have is, yes, sir.
We'll recognize you in a bit, ma'am. Just let her finish so we can get through all the emails and.
Thank you.
I have Ms. Ángeles Montemayor. Buenas tardes, soy una de muchas mamás preocupadas por la situación actual. Ha sido un desgaste emocional para nosotros como padres y sobre todo para mis hijas, ya que con esta pandemia dolorosamente han muerto muchos familiares y amigos nuestros y no queremos poner en riesgo nuestras vidas. Espero en Dios se tomen las mejores decisiones para todos. Bendiciones para todos. María de Los Ángeles Montemayor. I do want to state for the record that there were a number of emails that were sent after 6 p.m. And so the meeting had already started and we had not printed those copies out. We waited, and so those comments were not read.
Okay, I know that there's a couple of people, Ms. Lindblom, that have their hands up, that raise their hands. I think they're attached virtually. I have one person on an iPhone. I think you spoke earlier that you had a public comment, ma'am. Go ahead, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, this is Priscilla Villarreal, also known as La Gordiloca, one of the biggest influencers here in Laredo. And I have something to say. You know, although I don't have kids in school, I have nieces and nephews who go to UISD, and I am very, very concerned with their well-being. So with this being said, I honestly don't think, you know, we need to be hearing what the parents have to say about mask mandates when you have the professionals, which are the doctors, saying, you know what, this is going to get really, really bad, really, really fast when school starts. Like the other lady who spoke earlier, we don't have a pediatric care here. We don't have any more beds. We're at 22% hospitalization rates. There's no more rooms in any other hospital in Texas. Where are these kids going to be sent if they get sick? You know, this is the concern of every parent right now. I get messaged by dozens and dozens of parents each and every day asking, you know, what are they going to do to me if I don't send my kid to school? Am I going to be sent, you know, to court? At the end of the day, you all are parents as well. What are your thoughts on this? Are you going to send your kids to school? And if so, I mean, would you want your kid to wear a mask? I think that it's necessary. If you want all these kids to go back to school, masks are going to be very, very necessary. Social distancing is going to be really hard, but mask is really, really necessary. I don't think that we want to be #1 in the state again like last year with COVID-19, you know, positives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I saw another hand up earlier, just to be fair with everyone, is there another hand there? Does anybody in the boardroom recognize any other hand there? So Vanessa, I think I had her hand up.
Hello, yes. I have a question regarding this, the asthmatic. I myself have a son that is asthmatic.
The board cannot respond to questions by law, but if you have a comment, you're pretty welcome to comment.
I wanted to see like if you guys are going to do something in those kids that are asthmatic, Down syndrome, that are more high risk.
That's your comment, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Montemero?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I know I'm not responding to any comments because I know we can't legally, but I did feel that it is in the best public interest, and I don't know if legal counsel can advise me on this. If we can announce for the public what was announced on Tuesday, Ms. Rendon, about immunocompromised children having an option for virtual learning for 20 days on the advice of a medical professional, would it be appropriate to make that a comment on that right now, just for purposes of general information for the public?
Yes, that's correct. Administration and the board can make a statement of specific factual circumstances, so that would be allowed.
Last week, the...
Okay, I don't know, Ms. Rendon, if you want to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. Last week, the Commissioner of Education did issue a new public guidance for the school districts across the state. And there was 3 areas that basically they provided what they call virtual remote conferencing. And the 3 areas that would be eligible for students to be afforded the opportunity to have remote conferencing is, number 1, anybody who is COVID positive. Number 2, anyone who is exposed to a COVID positive. And number 3, anybody with a documented temporary disability with regards to, there's a certain criteria that must be followed, that the doctor or a physician licensed to practice in the United States would sign off on a form basically saying that a child has a temporary disability that would impede him or her from coming to school for at least 20 days, and that they would have to remain at home to receive instruction or in a hospital setting. And so we do have some forms that were already created, that were reviewed by legal, and so those forms are ready for our parents and our community members of anybody who has a documented temporary medical condition. It is for 20 days with the opportunity to request additional extended time through TEA waivers. And so we will consider that information as we go, and we are in the process of working that remote conferencing. I do want to state to the parents, however, that the instruction that would be provided is synchronous instruction for our teachers, and that it would not be, more than likely, not be the teacher that the child is assigned to in a school setting, because the TA guidance also says that it cannot be concurrent. And what that means is that the instruction, the teacher of record, say I'm a 2nd grade student, and I have to be home because I was COVID exposed, and so that child then would be placed with another teacher, because that teacher or his teacher still has to continue instruction for the other children in that particular class and not teach that child concurrently. So I hope I answered or gave that explanation.
Thank you, Ms. Rendon. Okay, agenda.
It will be on our website tomorrow, sir, and Ms. Olivares. All right?
I'm sorry?
That information is on our website. The forms will be on our website. It is a form that they will come in, complete a Google document, and then we would release that doctor's note so that they can get it completed by a physician. All right? That will be online tomorrow.
Okay. So now the board will now go into agenda item number 5, closed session. Under Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with board's attorney. The board will meet to discuss this matter in closed session. Just a note that those who are logged in through the Zoom Because we're going into closed session, you will be kicked out of the Zoom. You can click back in. The time is 7:54. I anticipate the board will take about 20 minutes to discuss this matter, and we should be back at about 8:15. And or it is also available on YouTube, and there is a link on the agenda. So the time is, again, is 7:55, and the board will be back in about 20 minutes. Thank you.
And I wanted to thank everyone who voiced their opinion today, either for or against. It's very important that the public have an opportunity to participate in the role that we play as board members. Thank you.
Okay, the time is now 8:45. The board will reconvene from closed session and will take appropriate action on the items discussed in closed session.
Yes, for the record, this is Jaime Garcia, and I believe the recommendation was to take action to adopt the following resolution, which I'm going to read into the record, to mandate masks for employees and students for the first 30 days of the 21-22 school year. And for the record, this is a resolution of the United ISD Board of Trustees mandating the use of face masks in district facilities and buses. Whereas the United Independent School District is a public school district located in Laredo, Texas, whereas since the first case of COVID-19 was identified in Washington State on January 21st, 2020, more than 35,665,877 individuals across the United States have contracted the disease, resulting in more than 614,291 fatalities. And whereas health officials have confirmed that in Texas more than 2,728,670 persons have tested positive for COVID-19, which has led to 52,463 fatalities. And whereas Texas public health officials have confirmed that in Texas, 27,079,121 doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered and 12,871,377 persons have been fully vaccinated, amounting to 64% of Texas's total population. And whereas the Federal Drug Administration has not authorized COVID-19 vaccines for children under the age of 12, and whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the Texas Department of State Health Services have identified at least 4 variants of the COVID-19 virus, of which the Delta variant has been determined to be 2 times more contagious and causes a greater percentage of hospitalizations when compared to the original virus. And whereas on August 5th, 2021, given the new evidence on the Delta variant currently circulating in Texas and in the United States, the CDC updated their guidance for COVID-19 prevention in K-12 schools to recommend universal indoor masking for all students, staff, teachers, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. And whereas on January 29, 2021, the CDC issued an order under Section 361 of the Public Health Service Act, 42 U.S. Code 264, and 42 Code of Federal Regulations 70.2, 71.31b, 71.32b, entitled Requirement for Persons to Wear Masks While on Public Conveyances and at Transportation Hubs, published in the Federal Register and effective February 1st, 2021. Whereas on August 4, 2021, the Texas Department of Health and Human Services issued public health guidance requiring that vaccinated and unvaccinated persons are required to wear masks while traveling on public transportation, including buses. Whereas, based on the board's substantial interest in protecting the health and safety of the district's students, staff, and community, as well as its interest in accomplishing the district's educational purpose, the board seeks to adopt this resolution in an effort to control and mitigate the spreading of COVID-19 and its variants. And whereas on Tuesday, August 10, 2021, the City of Laredo Health Authority also recommended that K-12 schools in Laredo mandate the use of masks. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the United Independent School District that all of the above recitals are adopted as findings of fact and are incorporated into and made a part of this resolution for all purposes, and that the board hereby determines that the public purposes served by this resolution and any expenditures made pursuant to this resolution include 1, keeping the district students, staff, and community as safe as possible during the COVID-19 pandemic, and 2, maintaining instructional continuity to the greatest extent possible during the COVID-19 pandemic. Section 2, face masks required in district facilities, unless otherwise exempted as provided in Section 4 to follow. All students, staff, teachers, and visitors shall be required to wear a face mask when inside a district facility. Section 3, face masks required on district school buses. All passengers on public conveyances, for example, school buses, traveling into, within, and out of or out of the United States. All conveyance operators, including crew drivers, conductors, and other workers involved in the operation of conveyances. All operators of transportation hubs, including the United ISD, shall comply with the CDC's order on requirement for persons to wear masks while on public conveyances and at transportation hubs. published in the Federal Register and effective February 1st, 2021. Unless otherwise exempted in Section 4 to follow, effective immediately, all persons shall be required to wear a face mask. Correction, effective Monday, August, I'm not quite sure what Monday is.
16th.
August 16th. All persons shall be required to wear a face mask covering their mouth and nose while present at the district's designated school bus passenger pickup and drop-off locations, including the district's bus terminals. All persons traveling on a district school bus shall wear a mask for the duration of their travel. District bus drivers shall use their best efforts to ensure that all persons on the bus wear a mask while boarding, disembarking, and for the duration of the travel. Best efforts include boarding only those students and persons who wear masks, instructing persons that federal law requires wearing a mask on the bus and failure to comply constitutes a violation of federal law, monitoring students and persons on board the bus for anyone who is not wearing a mask and seeking compliance from such person, and at the earliest opportunity disembarking any person who refuses to comply. Section 4, this resolution exempts the following categories of person. A child under the age of 2 years. B, a person with a disability who cannot wear a mask or cannot safely wear a mask because of the disability as defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act, 42 U.S. Code 12101 and to follow, or any other disability law. C, a person with a qualifying religious exemption as approved by the district. And D, a person for whom wearing a mask would create a risk to workplace health, safety, or job duty as determined solely by the district. Section 5, the superintendent of schools is authorized by the board to take such further actions necessary and appropriate to implement the intent of this resolution without further board action.
And will that resolution?
Just for clarification, Jaime, this will be active for 30 days, and the board will return at that time to revisit and consider whether extending that or terminating it, depending on what the law in place is at the time.
Correct. For clarification purposes and for the record, this resolution, if passed, will be effective Monday, August 16th, and will be in effect for 30 calendar days, at which point it may be revisited by the board or revisited at an earlier point.
And where,
Hey, do I get a motion?
I have a question for the public as to where that can be read. Where can they find the resolution to read it?
It will be posted online
Okay.
at uisd.net.
So do I have a motion to that effect?
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Molina.
Second.
Second. Seconded by Mr. Vélez. Any further discussion on the issue? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries, the vote is unanimous. The next item is adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, being online and everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.